What is going on, movie freaks? James Hancock here, back to review Guillermo del Toro's new movie, Nightmare Alley, which is opening this weekend. I'll avoid spoilers in that my goal with this video is to persuade those people sitting on the fence to go see it. But what I will say is that this is one of the best movies that I saw all year. And on top of that, one of the best movies of Guillermo del Toro's entire career, right up there with movies like Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone. Pan's Labyrinth is still my personal favorite, but Nightmare Alley, it really hit my sweet spot. It's macabre, it's deranged, it features a hauntingly beautiful visual style. The film boasts an astonishing cast, nearly all of whom are playing some form of degenerate hustler or murderer or con artist or madman. Like the original 1947 film starring Tyrone Power, it's a film noir on the surface, but one with a really demented horror movie lurking just beneath the surface. I guess this is all a sign that I'm going to have to man up and read the original book by William Lindsay Gresham that both of these movies are based upon. In the original film, it's a genuine classic, and I strongly encourage people to hunt it down. And this new movie is pretty goddamn good too. Just go nuts to make a proper double feature out of both of them. Also, I should add that for this latest adaptation, Del Toro worked with screenwriter Kim Morgan. Now, Kim Morgan's been doing amazing work as a commentator and a critic for years, but I'm thrilled to see her making this pivot into her new career as a screenwriter because she's absolutely cool as shit, and hopefully she'll continue to work on more great screenplays in the years to come. But if you're unfamiliar with the story of Nightmare Alley, in broad strokes, the tale begins in the late 1930s with a down-on-his-luck drifter played by Bradley Cooper who finds work in a traveling carnival. The carnival is full of performers of all shapes and sizes, from the strongman Bruno, played by Ron Perlman, to the performer known as the Geek, kept in this horrible cage by the boss of this whole affair, played by Willem Dafoe. The Geek is this deranged psychotic who bites the heads off chickens and snakes, who seems to live on nothing apart from alcohol and hard drugs, and given the name of my YouTube channel, I looked into it, and long before the word geek was used by nerds like myself, these geeks were a real thing. And what's funny is how for a while now, I've been thinking about changing the name of my channel, and that I feel like at age 45, I've kind of outgrown the title. However, now that I know the true origins of the word, I'm keeping the name. And if I ever get really desperate for traffic, I'll get liquored up, shoot some heroin, and bite the heads off some chickens. At any rate, while working for the carnival, Cooper learns the tricks of the trade from two performers played by Toni Collette and David Strathairn, both of whom are on fire in this movie, and they specialize in this sleight of hand act that allows them to have these psychic visions about their audience. And soon Bradley Cooper's character is ready to graduate from hired muscle to being a performer himself, and ends up recruiting/seducing Rooney Mara away from her electricity act, and the two young lovers set off to conquer the world. But once they achieve fame and fortune, their lives become considerably more complicated and dangerous as Cooper shifts into being more of a spiritualist and a medium, interacting with and occasionally preying upon some very wealthy, powerful people, like those played by Cate Blanchett and Richard Jenkins. And these elites play some games of their own, and soon Bradley Cooper and Rooney Mara are up to their ears in all kinds of trouble, especially as Cooper's greed and ambition increasingly push him to abandon the ethical codes and guidelines that he was originally taught back at the carnival. But that's all I can say in terms of the plot, but it all builds towards one of the most grimly satisfying dramatic finales imaginable, and even if you've seen the 1947 film, you will be on the edge of your seat. Plus, Del Toro, he has the freedom to go to much darker places than director Edmund Goulding was able to explore 75 years ago, especially with the very last scene, which absolutely knocked me flat. This movie leans all the way into its R rating, and I applaud Del Toro for being one of the few directors out there who's still willing to make graphic, hardcore movies with an adult sensibility. So this should come as no surprise given Del Toro's earlier movies, but where Del Toro really shines with this film is with his depiction of the carnival. I would give my right arm to visit this kind of show in real life, because with every beautiful frame of film and with every elegant camera movement, Del Toro completely immerses us in this world full of magic and nightmares. And I would have been content for the story to remain in that setting from start to finish. Don't get me wrong, the film looks gorgeous all the way through, but the carnival gives Del Toro so many unique opportunities to let his imagination run wild. At times, the movie is genuinely disturbing, particularly the character played by Willem Dafoe. He perfectly represents the kind of amoral, sleazy character one expects to find in the darkest corners of showbiz, happy to abuse and exploit anyone to turn a fast buck. But he's not exactly alone. Cooper's character has a deeply troubled history as well, one that we learn more and more about as the story progresses. For my part, I just love seeing a glamorous, good-looking movie star like Bradley Cooper throwing all caution to the wind and playing a mean son of a bitch. He's charismatic, but he's also pure scum. And I wish more actors would follow his lead and take on these kinds of risky roles. My one real knock on the movie is the length. At 2 hours, 30 minutes, this new version is 40 minutes longer than the original, with pretty much the exact same plot. And when I looked up the running time in advance, I actually screamed out loud, like, "Ah, fuck me!" And I almost bailed entirely on going, but obviously I'm glad I went. And within minutes after the movie starting, I knew I was going to love this movie. And then as the movie picked up speed toward the end, it became a very strong contender for my favorite movie of the year. I think Benedetta is still going to come in at number 1, but Nightmare Alley is very close. But I have to admit that there's a little fat on the bone in the middle of the movie where audiences might start shifting in their seats. I'm also really worried about how this movie is going to perform, in that there's another really big movie opening this weekend, and people always claim that they want to see more sophisticated movies from Hollywood that aren't aimed at children. Well, now's your chance to put your money where your mouth is on this very crowded weekend. My advice would be to drop off the kids to see Spidey do his thing, while the adults who like the rough stuff sneak off to see Nightmare Alley. I promise it will leave an indelible impression on you that you will not soon shake off. And looking at the movie as a whole, what it reminds me of is that brilliant line from another classic film noir, Detour from 1945, when Al Roberts says, "That's life. Whichever way you turn, fate sticks out a foot to trip you." And that bleak, pessimistic attitude just flows through this undeniably creepy film that's overflowing with so many juicy details that will leave all kinds of lovely scar tissue all over your brain. So if you're ready to go to the dark side, give Nightmare Alley a shot. If you're a movie lover, this is the kind of movie we so rarely get, where a genuine auteur with a unique filmmaking aesthetic whips out every trick in his movie-making toolkit to deliver the most memorable experience that he can. Now, I'm aware that I'm probably completely, totally overselling the movie, but fuck it, I loved it. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Hope everyone enjoys the movie, but more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.